Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Batty Rewrite. This is the Let's Catch Up the recap. Hey, Amber.
Hey, Jacqueline, where are you at?
I'm in Silicon Valley, the
Ooh.
sunny California. I am definitely missing that storm that's hitting the weekend over there in Texas, San Antonio this weekend.
Oh, man,
I
lucky
hope you
you.
stocked up on toilet paper.
HEB has nothing left.
All righty. Well, let's talk shop. Let's catch up. We have actually two episodes to catch up on. I know last time we had to cancel the live. That was my bad. I mean, seriously. Um,
Oh, no worries.
but we had Liv. She was on our podcast. We talked about pretty face, dangerous hands, and she really brought it. You know, that episode. I got so many text messages from people that really appreciated that episode. So many people were like, "How did you get Liv Dearly on your podcast?" I was
Yes.
like, "That was our production manager."
Yes.
So what did you think of the episode once you got to see it finally live again? I mean, you were there live and in person, but for the episode, but seeing it again and watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really insightful, and it was just really interesting to hear her story and, how she came to be in the MMA. It was really inspiring. I thought she showed a lot of intelligence, a lot of courage, a lot of vulnerability in letting our audience know about what she's been through and how it made her who she is today, brought her to her passion of MMA, and of really inspiring young women or women in general. And so that was just, I thought it was beautiful, beautiful episode, beautiful
No,
person. So
it definitely was. I mean, I love the part where you even mentioned how you experienced to some degree somebody that came up to your window was pounding on you, or what was it, the gate that you had to run to, and somebody that was stalking you. So, like, I feel like at some point we have a kind of all experienced that to some degree, even if it wasn't to the degree that Liv has experienced. But I love
yeah,
your experience that you shared. How did you feel about that with that vulnerable moment?
yeah. I mean, it's a lot, obviously it's a lot easier to talk about something like after it's happened, but it just, it takes you back to that moment in time and you're just like, wow, what the heck? Well, how did that even happen? How did I even think to get out of it? And that's what was so special. I thought about when we talked to Olivia was that, it's one thing for people to notice what's going on, to have that intuition, to really, go like something's going on here. I need to get everything straight. But she had so much courage to take those overt actions to actually start filming and, you know, calling her dad to pretend to be a police officer, when she had the
Yes,
incident at Walmart. Like she really was able to act in those moments. And that was wow. Like, kudos to her.
yes. No, definitely. And she has a fight coming up here in the next month in February. So if you have not gotten your tickets yet, make sure you grab your tickets, sit front row seat. If you need access to some tickets, let us know. We can get you some help with that as well. But the one thing that I loved about this episode is it really kind of curated that conversation about stalking and about, just being aware of your surroundings, but also being aware of relationships that you're getting into. And the
Yes.
next episode that literally just launched yesterday, I know we didn't do our real or our live before that, but
Preview.
yesterday,
Yeah.
yeah, our preview. Yesterday's episode dropped, and that was more of a episode that was very vulnerable to something that happened to me personally when it comes to that stalking behavior and something that actually landed me in the hospital. So it was very vulnerable moment. But even like what I was telling you, Amber, when we did film, I had never even talked about that situation publicly or really talked about it. It's something that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had left it 20 years ago behind me. And
Yeah.
so pretty interesting episode. How did you feel about that episode that dropped yesterday?
Well, I think that's more a question for you. You were the one with the really serious stories. I mean, I shared some of my stories from clients in my days as a prosecutor, but you were really vulnerable. You really shared with our baddies what you had been through, and like you said, it's something you had never talked about to barely anyone. And so how did you actually leaving the taping or hearing that episode back, how did you feel after that?
Yeah. What's interesting? So you know how Jake was at our recording, right? So he was
Yes.
there listening to the whole thing. And he's just like, it was weird to hear you talk about such a vulnerable moment. He's like, because he's like, you would think that you would have cried or something like that. And it's just like, it's so hard to have that emotion, I guess, because it was 20 years ago,
Yeah.
23 years ago is when that
Wow.
happened. I mean, it was an incident that, like I had talked about in the episode, that put me in the hospital. Because of this stalking situation, I almost was physically blind and had to get eye
Right.
surgery for 5 hours. And I don't think, because my emotional piece of not crying in that moment when I was talking about it on the episode doesn't take away from the severity of it, because it was a severe situation. It was very traumatizing at that time. But I feel like, just, everything that Liv Dearly had talked about in her episode, what it did to her, she went out and became stronger because of it. And when I talk about it now, it's such a,
Oh no, I think we're losing Jacqueline. um Hopefully she will come back here in just a few moments. So in case you haven't watched the episode, like she was just talking about, she did disclose an incident, several incidents, that she was in a relationship with someone and they were abusing her and were very jealous and stalked her. And she actually had an incident where this person came and broke out her window in her car while she was in it. Glass shattered, and she was very, very close to being blinded by what happened from this incident. So, if you haven't watched the episode, it's really, she was very vulnerable, and in talking to you, to you baddies, about what her experience was, how it made her feel, kind of how she dealt with it. And yeah, so it was really, emotional, and a lot of good information, which kind of, we talked about that with Olivia. There you are. And so I was
hi,
just
oh
kind
my
of
gosh,
explaining
sorry about
to everybody a little more about what you talked about on the show with your experience, and I was just kind of giving them the 411 on that in case they hadn't already seen the episode.
Yeah, so I mean, again, it was interesting. Even Jake was like, "I'm so surprised that you even talked about that, because that isn't even anything that you offer to people that you know." And I did mention that on the show as well. You
Yes.
said, "Have I used that experience to help others?" And I'm like, I've never talked about it really outside of the time frame that it happened.
Yes.
But I have shared with people, not my experience, but what they need to do and how they need to advocate themselves. And obviously that's from
Yes.
experience, but never really shared my story, which I don't know why. I think I just wanted to leave that behind me.
Sure. We also talked about, the need for mental health, checking your mental health, and being, open to counseling, and how important that can be in aiding, in these types of situations. Of course, any type of situation, where you feel like your mental health needs a check, counseling is always good. But we did talk about
Yeah.
that aspect as well.
No, definitely the mental health. I mean, we even talked about it. It's like, where, oh, even in my kids and my family, we always joke, not joke, but we're like, yeah, we got to all go see a therapist. Like, we have things that we need to go work out. And We're going to let the professional, because you know me, I'm all about leverage. So if I'm not the expert, I'm going to go pull in the expert that's going to help us solve these problems.
Yes. And so we also, so the going into, so that we had the Olivia Beerley episode, which was episode 6, which we loved so much. And she's phenomenal. And again, like Jacqueline told y'all, you know, check her out. She is Olivia Yum Yum Beerley. Go to her socials. She's on Instagram and check out her upcoming fight. We are going to be there front row supporting her and with all of our posse. And so any of you all who want to come and join us there, please do. But that kind of, like you said, that kind of catapulted us into the next episode was specifically about stalking, which was episode 7. And in case you all don't know, January is actually Stalking Awareness Month. It's recognized. And one, you know, when I was doing the research for the episode, it's, you know, anywhere from 1 in 3 to around 1 in 8 women over their lifetime has been stalked. So this is something that is definitely serious. It happens to the majority of women. And so we wanted to bring light to that and talk about our experiences with that, talk about some resources, which I think we need to make sure up, you know, on the website in regards to tools and resources and phone numbers of, you know, that if this has happened to you or that you need help with, that you can reach out for.
And you also mentioned that in the episode as well. So, you know, look in our description. We're going to have those links available for you. If you are experiencing stalking or even, you know, domestic behavior that this is not suitable for who you are as a human being, like these are things that these are places that you can go to, resources that you can look into. And also we talk about in the episode how you're not alone. I remember feeling like I was alone and I didn't want anybody to know about my stalker situation. And
Right.
I also kind of felt like maybe I caused this to some degree. And, you know, and looking back, nobody deserves that. I was 19 years old when that happened. And that nobody deserves that, you know. So 20 years old, 19 years old. We even talked about how like your front cortex is not even developed at that time. So, you know, if you know somebody that's in a situation where they have maybe an ex that doesn't want to leave them alone and they are stalking them, you know, really look into the resources that we're providing here in the description, because it's so important to be aware and to be equipped and being able to advocate for your friend or for yourself, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
So really, definitely take a look at the episode. So if you haven't, you'll get to hear a story that I don't ever talk about and that hasn't been talked about in 23 years. So,
and how did you feel watching the episode back? The same?
You know, it's interesting because I'm just like, God, I feel for that 19-year-old, you know, but I'm just like, I'm so far removed from that person and that decision making that I was making at that time. And I look back and I say, I feel like I'm gonna get emotional about this part. Like I can look back and I can say, hey babe, we did it.
Yes.
We did it. We are not there anymore. And from that moment triggered something so powerful in me. That's so powerful that I said, I will never, ever, ever be at the mercy of financial dependency ever again in my life. And that stayed true for the rest of my life, for the rest of the 23 years that, you know, since that's happened. So it triggered something that just like Beerley, just like Liv, that I will never, ever be in that type of position. And I armed myself and I became dangerous in that position when it became financially independent.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, from the bottom of my heart and everybody else's hearts, thank you so much for sharing your story with us on that. I mean, it was very tender, and I know it was raw for you. And so thank you for sharing that. And I know that this is going to resonate with a lot of other women. And I think that, you know, they're going to really be thankful that you shared this story with them and gave them that peace and hope and love, you know, that you shared through your story. And what you touched on at the very end was what I was about to segue into was what we talked about, which was the financial independence portion that makes it so difficult for these women to leave. And I don't know if you remember or not, but I also told a story about a former client of mine who had been
Yeah.
abused. And after she settled her case or her case trial, she was able to finally leave her abuser because she had that financial independence. And I think we're losing Jacqueline again. But oh, there you are. Okay. So yeah, it's really important. And that's another reason, because we understand that some women are not in that position. So that's another reason we want you to go back, look at our descriptions, because part of those resources is going to be places that you can look in your city, in your county, in your state that have set aside victim resources exactly for this, so that you can get out, so that you can start over, so that you can have funds to go and do that. And so we want to make sure that if you know someone, or if you are someone who is experiencing this, that you at least have somewhere to begin to find some resources to help in your financial aspect of that.
And if you are experiencing that, I would definitely say, you know, and if you have overcome it, I would say, even in that stage, if you've overcome a stuff or something that was a brutal experience for you, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace, because I think that's what that episode did for me. Is it really made me feel grace for myself. Like, damn, I've really accomplished a lot, but also learning, kind of like going back to like, what was your reason why? You know how we always ask, why are you doing this? What is your reason why? And you always want to emphasize on that. And I really looked at that episode and said, gosh, that reminded me of how the journey all began of entrepreneurship, of, you know, becoming financially independent, and, you know, being a survivor of that, you know. So give yourself grace, and know that that moment, those decisions, if you're in those situations, that decision is not going to define you. You know, you are going to overcome that, and you are going to be not the victim, but the victor. And know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes we have to be the ones that are going to spark that light and get us out of the darkness, you know.
Yes. So again, if you haven't checked out our episodes, we're doing a recap. Episode 6, which was the Olivia Beerley, the MMA fighter that we had on as our first guest, Pretty Face and Dangerous Hands. And then episode 7, which is about stalking. And so we've got some heartfelt, very tender moments in that episode. And we think that we're providing some really useful information. And Jacqueline, again, tells her story. And so, you know, I think you all are going to want to hear it. Check it out. Again, you know, follow us at Batty Rewrite on YouTube.
Yes.
Batty
Follow
Rewrite.
us, subscribe.
You
have to become a subscriber.
Facebook. Yes, you have to subscribe. And, you know, again, as always, I mean, we'd love to share your information. We'd love to share your input. We'd love to hear your feedback. Please hit us up, send us a DM, tell us about something that you've been through. We'd love to help you any way that we possibly can, whether it's something that we share with you that we know about, or whether we get you in contact with somebody who can. We are always there for you. So feel free to send us a message and we will get back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, Batty Rewrite, let's do it. You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Watch the episodes. If you didn't see the Live Dearly episode, you are missing out. Hit play, come back to it, and watch it over and over again. If you did not watch the latest episode, well, you're definitely in for some great tea. Time to drink the tea, because you're about to get it all. And also just understand an experience that I went through, and then, being able to have some information and context about how that can help you or a friend or somebody you know that might be possibly experiencing that. But the biggest thing that we ask you guys to do is just be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and remember we're all human here.
Yes, and we do want to thank our sponsor, NanoCube USA, who is a woman-owned business, and the CEO and president is my partner, and so that they are the structural steel premier builder in Texas.
Yes.
Fabrication, erection, design, build, commercial buildings. So NanoCube USA, thank you, thank you, thank you.
No, we thank you because all this would not be possible if it wasn't for your sponsorship and your partnership. So thank you very much, NanoCube USA. Here we
Thank you for
go.
joining us. And Batty Nation, we've come to a close. So we will see you soon. And like Jacqueline said, be kind, give yourself grace. We're here for you, and we can't wait to see you again.
Adios, everyone.
Bye.